Everything is temporary, even life itself. People have a habit of second guessing us. They have a habit of judging us. I often think unnecessarily, unfairly. But it's for each of us to follow our own path, effectively beat to our own drum and believe in ourselves, no matter how difficult, challenging life gets. Because sometimes, sometimes you got to go down before you go up. It's just life. It's the trajectory of a journey. Um, so I sometimes make decisions that others maybe consider reckless. They may misjudge me, but by the end, it all adds up and makes sense. So I often talk about, and I've even mentioned in my books, that sometimes I leave jobs to fulfill other sides of me, my creativity, my passions, my calling. So I'll write my books, and people often think it's reckless and crazy, but then I'm like, I could always return to those positions later. And when I do, I will have other things behind me, so things I'm proud of course, an elevation of status, an enhancement of abilities, but also the potential for passive income. So my life elevates by extension. So in the middle of all that, though, when it doesn't seem like things are working out, people may judge and maybe even ridicule. But then who has the last laugh after? I don't really care about proving people wrong. It's more about just my own fulfillment of a journey. So I'm going to share a little bit of spirituality at the moment. I'm not going to find my videos. If people are interested that much, they'll source them. It'd be a lot easier on YouTube because my videos are organized. But back in January, I was getting frustrated with my finances. It wasn't making sense. I put so much time and effort into my book projects. There's two more books. And by extension, it's audio books. And I'm thinking I should have been successful by now. It ain't always a given. And there's usually a reason as to why things haven't happened just yet. But it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Your breakthrough's not in. It's not. It's not finished. Um, So I was getting a bit frustrated, and I was asking through my tarot cards because my guides always answer me quickly. If I shuffle my cards and don't ask a question, most of the time nothing comes out unless they want me to know something. And I ask a question, and boom, they just start flying. And it alluded to the fact that in February, because I was figuring it out, in February I will transition back into employment. So I'll be working on my own projects, hoping that there'll be a breakthrough. But we have to be pragmatic. And it was pointing to the fact that I will have to go back and do traditional work like warehousing. And I'm like, well, that's no good because my back hurts. Why would you put me in that position? And then I asked other questions because innately I know answers, and I already know in my head. So I'll ask the question, I'm thinking, is it to humble me, to make me sort of appreciate my roots before my breakthrough? And it was yes. I thought, okay, that's interesting because people can get ahead of themselves when they have money and status. They can forget where they come from. Why they're really doing it and things. And I think that's interesting. So finances are getting tighter and tighter, and it was pointed to, it was almost like it was forcing me to do that. Even if you don't necessarily want to, you're going to be pushed towards it. So I thought I was curious. It wasn't so great, but it was curious. Then, like last week, I decided I'm going to get a refresher on my forklift. So I've got the license. It gives me options. And it will help once you get an opportunity. It'll help my finances, and obviously, then you can actually talk to people as well. So there's like a camaraderie at work. And then I started putting out. I passed that. It was a 1 day refresher. Passed the refresher, so now I've got the license for the forklift. I put a few job applications out. One got back to me quite quick, but in all honesty, two things I didn't like about the position. One was cold store freezer. I can't work in a freezer because I've got my blood circulation issue, and I've tried in the past, to be honest, and it's always been a bit unbearable. They give you the uniform, but it's a bit too much. The other part of that is I hate jobs where you apply for a job and then they come back to you asking you for a next stage, but the next stage is fill out another application. You're like, no. I'm not applying for anything twice. That's just disorganized. That's too many hurdles unnecessarily. I don't like people wasting my time. So those two things for that job. There's another one I applied for. It said that the position's now closed or it's finished, and I thought, okay, because you're not going to get them all. That's okay if that's the situation. And weirdly enough, a day later or 2 days later, I got an email saying you've been invited to an interview, and you can pick the date and time. And there was 2 dates, and the times were all day, 30-minute slots. So it looked like I got the first pick in terms of like the opportunity because no one else had clicked through yet. Whoever got, I don't know in what order they were giving the interviews. So I picked the second batch of days because I thought, to be honest, there's a strategy behind some of this. Let the first day be seen, and then you've got something to compare you to. Whereas if you're the first person out of everybody, they may assume there's other people. You may just assume everybody's great. You don't know. I don't know. It can backfire, of course. It's a strategy. I prefer to get things out of the way early, so I preferred the earliest slot for the second day, and then they can compare everyone after to you. So that's how I do it. I'm usually quite good in interviews, but you can't always guarantee those things. But the point is, if I get this job, then all of a sudden my circumstances are improving anyway, aren't they? And then what have people got to gossip about? You've got a full-time job. What if it works out, of course? You're back into a full-time job. I've got a collection of books, 6 books. I'm still working on more. I've got audio books. I do the video content here. I'm doing things with my life. And yet, when you don't have certain boxes ticked, you're ridiculed and treated like you're pathetic and you don't have a clue what you're doing. I always knew what I was doing. At any moment, you can return to traditional work. You can get jobs. You can change your status. You can change things. But it's up to us to take those leaps of faith to improve our lives. Another video recently come up as well, where I've said I'm going to have a break from creating content, and a video come up, and I kid you not, they said you're thinking of taking a step back, and the reasons why and things. And I thought that makes sense. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And they said your instinct at the moment is to step back, but in fact you're supposed to double down and create and be more in the spotlight. So I'll think about it. I mean, I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do, but if I feel like the urge to create content still, even though a big part of me wants to step back, then I will. But I do feel there's going to be a period here where I just transition into whatever's transitioning, like on my own terms, rather than broadcast every single moment. But we'll see how this goes. Oddly enough, this position I applied for is the only one of all the jobs that actually doesn't have the salary suggested. And I'm like, wait a minute. It doesn't say the hourly rate and it doesn't say the salary. So I'm like, that's a bit of a risk. But it is what it is. It ain't all about money, of course, as long as you can pay your bills and survive and at least thrive a little. It's the least we want, isn't it? But the working environment for me is going to be crucial rather than it will be about money, which maybe is why this one hasn't. Because to be honest, I then asked Spirit through my cards yesterday. I was asking them a barrage of questions, and I just said, "Did Spirit?" I'll tell you something happened. It was weird. So because of my back problem, I get fit notes because my back is a problem. I'm seeing if I can. I've applied for my forklift because I'm thinking that'll help. You let the forklift do the work. So I applied for another fit note, but as I applied for this fit note from the doctor, exactly as I did that, kid you not, I applied for it and then straight away I got an email after. Like immediately after I did that, I checked my email, got an email come through, and I check quite often. And it was for this job opportunity, for the interview. And I was like, what? That me knowing spirituality, that's weird timing. You apply for this, but we're going to get you doing that. So I've used the tarot cards last night, and I just said, look, did Spirit set up this interview? Did Spirit make this job opportunity happen? And now, if I get this job, that'd be a lot. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to get it because you can't guarantee things. I'm not naive. I'm not stupid. But what I'm saying is, it's uncanny. And if I do get this position, you would say, that's crazy because I had a sign in January that you will be in February. You will be returning back to the work, to sort of like work life again, like you used to. And I was really annoyed because I wanted my breakthrough in career in what I've been doing now. Like, if I could see progress with this and my books, I would throw everything into it. I'd be so passionate and excited. But it gets a bit demoralizing when you're not seeing rewards and you can't live off it, And even though you put your heart and soul into it, I put everything into it. So it's like, why does other people get everything easier and they put half the effort in? It doesn't make sense to me. You get these people just doing live, expecting gifts, and they're not even, and they think they're special, but they're not even doing anything. They don't provide anything to anyone other than just sit there saying gift, gift, gift. What makes that special? There's no redeeming factors. It's like, come on, man. It's ridiculous. But I want to show people that you can humble yourself too. Like, I'm not above myself. I've got no problem going back to other things. It's just time is limited, isn't it? if you put so much time into one thing, it means I'm going to lose it in other things, and other parts of me will have to take a back seat a bit more. So the books will take longer, um, and other things really. Um, I would say about another thing actually before I go on to this is for like, all my daughter's life, I've prioritized her, but it's I'm starting to prioritize myself a little bit more lately. It's like I need to look after me as well. She's now getting older. She's like 15 this year, in a few months. And I've always had to argue with jobs for time off to get for holidays and things. But I'm starting to realize that as she's older now, I'm not going to keep having those battles. So if she has the holidays with me, which I absolutely hope she does, I can't always just lose all my holiday allowance. So she will have, like, for instance, depending on what the job is, she might just have to stay home on her own just for a few hours while I'm at work. And then when I come home, we can spend time together. Then maybe we've got the weekend. It depends on the job role, of course, like whether I've got the weekends free. And it made me work around things like that so I don't have to lose all my holiday. Um, we'll see. Anyway, that's just another little thing there that there's ways to work around things, especially as our children get older. So this is the cards I got. I've got to do it at an angle. I can't let it goes bright white because the ring light. But this one here is the Emperor and the Ten of Pentacles. So literally, when I asked Spirit, "Did you set up this interview and this opportunity?" I got that. That's what I got. The Emperor and Ten of Pentacles. So that would suggest that job will work out. That will be that will do you good. It isn't aware. It's. I don't know the position too much. All I know is um, it's a small warehouse that deals with food distribution. So maybe it's an extension of a farm, maybe it's produce that comes from a farm. I don't know. I've worked in so many different warehouses, so fast-paced environments, slower-paced environments, big distribution centers, smaller facilities. I'm open to anything. One of the things that did catch my eye is the fact that it did say it's got an award for like the workplace environment thing. I don't know exactly how you call it, but it was like, well, okay, that's interesting then because that's what I want more than anything, a good working environment. Where you're happy to go to work, you're happy to be there. But anyway, if that works out, it's like all of a sudden some of the stresses get relieved, don't they? The finances aren't so tight. You can now you go way part. You can start transitioning away from survival mode. There's less reliance on the breakthrough coming from the other things I do because I'm not in desperate need for that to happen. And maybe that's what the whole point as well is. There's other nuances, of course. So then all of a sudden, like I said, you've got a potential for passive income through the book projects, by extension, the audiobooks. And who knows what happens with my videos, whether they finally get some views or not. But then you've also got other sides of you making the income. And like I said, and then I've got people in my life, what are they going to chat about then? What are they going to chat about then? Because I do all this myself. I'm self-made. It's But yeah, people are like sit there gossip and try ridicule me, or even family members. Believe me, I get people that they just like to use me as the focal point of their way of trying to uplift themselves. I sort of bad on my name, even though I'm always elevating, even if it looks like I'm stagnating. So like I say, who has the last laugh then? Because I've got family members who just live a life on benefits. I'll use the benefit system when I need it. When it's essential. I don't abuse it. I'll still, I'll go back to traditional work and I'll be paying my taxes. And that's how I always see it. I just end up getting my taxes back to support me when I need it. So if something happens, then there shouldn't be this stigmatism that it's bad to need the support when you need it. That's not right at all. People judge whatever they want, but at the end of the day, it's how we live our life and the decisions we make, isn't it? And what we need. Who cares what others think of you? That's another thing. But yeah, there's people in my life where they are just downright lazy, but they'll make every excuse just to validate why they are, and it's like, but they hardly do anything with their life at all. And I would suggest I'm doing quite well for myself. Even just the books alone, I would say is quite an achievement. I got more coming. I've recently passed my forklift license again. I may be back in traditional work doing full time. In the UK, we get good allowance for holidays. I think it's 20 something days. Is it nearly 30 days a month, a year holidays? Because you get bank holidays as well. But effectively, you get like I think 4 weeks off work a year, something like that. Because obviously you've got your weekends, so you wouldn't use that. You'd only use, so if you've got, let's say you've got 20, let's say you've got 23 days holiday, you only need 5 for a week, don't you? Because you've got 2 days naturally off anyway, so you'd only book the Monday to Friday, that's your week. If you want 2 weeks off, you'd then book 10 days for the 5 one week, 5 the other week. So yeah, in the UK, and in Europe, we're quite fortunate compared to the Americas and whatnot, where you don't have that quality of life balance. But yeah, we'll see where life takes me. Just thought I'd share this really, because obviously, if this one doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. I've got other positions I've applied for. A job I left back in 2023. It was terrible conditions, and I'm transparent with wages. That was for warehousing. It was good. It was £28,000 a year. I think we started on 26, but it had an annual pay rise, and so the following year there was a good pay rise, and we went up to 28. Which means by now they're probably, if the people are still there, they're probably on 30, 31 now. I'm guessing 30. So that was a good paying job, and I left that job because it was destroying me mentally and physically, and it was just a terrible place to work. And life isn't always about money. I mean, I literally put my money where my mouth is. I walk away from things that just don't serve, or they cause problems, and it's not good for you. Because your mental health matters, your body matters, your health matters. There's nothing more important. There really isn't. It's like you can't get that back once it goes. So yeah, those are gone. There's other positions I've applied for. One is 32,000 to 30 something else. 34. I think 34. I'm not sure. You never know what ones you get offered. There was one that was interested in me a year ago. I think year and a half ago. When I left the other position shortly after that, there was another job that offered that was interested, and that was 30,000 a year. I think 32. But I turned it down because it was cold. It was freezers, a cold store freezer, and I was like, actually, I'm not interested. So, in all honesty, I do present well. I'm good at interviews. I'm good at talking and communicating, as you can see here. And I do well in my interviews because I'm honest. The one thing with me is you never get a lie. I won't lie. And I think that sincerity comes across. To be honest, I think people appreciate that when you talk to them. Just to be honest, you don't have to think too much. It's just easy. But yeah, I just thought I'd show that to people really, because let's say I get this position, the only thing people can then gossip about is my love life, and it's up to them if that's of interest to them enough. But again, when I finally meet my person and I come into union, I mean, anyone that's gossiping will realise that was a lot of people's relationships are built on a faulty foundation. They're insecure. They struggle to be alone. They'll they'll deal with infidelities and things just to mask their really their vulnerabilities and insecurity in their own life. So they'll accept anything and everything just because they don't want to be alone. And yet I set boundaries. I'm firm. I have strong expectations, but people know I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I reciprocate. So if someone is prepared to invest in me, I'll invest in them. One of the biggest things for me is I talk about it a lot. I don't want to be loved by everyone. I've no interest in any of that. But I do want to be in love. I want to share my heart with someone, and someone share theirs with me, and that's something I want more than anything. Above money, above finances, above career. That's what deep down. That's what I want. But you can't force that or spit or hurry it. So yeah, that part will be missing, but it's missing for a lot of people too, and it's also missing. For some people, like I said, will pretend they're in a perfect relationship, and they pretend they're in love. They'll make every excuse, but they know whether they've just settled. So the reality is, once I find my person, it wasn't just rushed, was it? And I think people inherently know you found the one, because I won't settle for less than that. So when that comes together, then what have people got to gossip about? People just need to stop gossiping and thinking negatively of others' lives. Mine can seem like an absolute mess at times, and it is, but it's part of the creation process to expand our mind, and give ourselves the opportunity to thrive rather than just survive. Because most people in survival mode their whole life. It's like literally every day is survival. But we have to find it in us to find a way to thrive, because surviving isn't enough. But yeah, so like I said, there is always a method to the madness, and everything in life is temporary. Nothing's permanent, even life itself. So if anyone ever ridicules you or judges you, just recognize that anything can happen at any moment, but it's up to us to take the steps forward to instigate the change. If you refuse to do anything, then nothing's really going to change because you won't take them assertive action when you need to. So yeah, today life is challenging. Believe me. Like I've had some bills that have had to get returned because I refused to go hungry. That's been a problem over this week and last week. But I'm like, there's a method to the madness. There's a method to the madness. I'm aware that I'll be working soon or something will happen. So I'm like, okay, that one's going to be a problem. I'll have to sort that one out later. But for now, that's just my only choice. That's my only choice right now is figuring out which bills to pay, which ones to hold back for a minute. And then when things start improving over the next month or two, then I can go back and sort those ones out. You'll be in a position where, you're no longer surviving, you're thriving. And then I can start paying back by paying double on that payment, double on that payment. And now we're back to square. Now we're caught up. It's, again, method to the madness.